me start by let me see. Let me start by the one who is far away, which is Mr. Prince Z. By the way, please don't cut me on this. Your names, you guys are very, very difficult to pronounce. Let me start with Prince Ize from US, I believe in Maryland, and then I will go back to Nigeria. Thank you, Karibu.
Yes, thank you, Imani. Quickly, my name is SRH Victor Obonna II. Law is my chosen profession. Royalty is my inherited career. I am a published author. I can leave it at that. Thank you. It's good to have me here. I am privileged and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so tell people, what does Eze mean for people who don't know?
Yes, if you follow my introduction, I said that royalty is my inherited career. That means that I am a traditional ruler of Igbo extraction. Yeah, for purposes, for ease of reference, Eze is the same thing as what the Yorubas call Oni or Oba, or what the Hausas in Nigeria will call Emir, or what you in Ethiopia might call Emperor, or what the Westerners will call King. So there is no distinction. It's just that, we have different names to call it. It's the same thing.
Okay, so it's king in English.
That's correct.
Very good. In Amharic, it's called Nigus.
Nigus.
Yeah, Nigus.
That's
Thank you
good.
so much. Thank you so much. Ambassador, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself to those who don't know who you are?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Imani. My name is Adebayo Idowu. I am a retired diplomat. I have served Nigeria not less than 35 years, moving around the world, in Africa, in Asia, and Europe. I am currently in Abuja consulting on international trade, especially trade between Nigeria and Africa and the United States.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for taking your time, and thank you for serving in Nigeria for the past 30-some years. So that means, obviously, it does give some weight on the topic we're going to be talking about today, which is the Nigerian election 2023. Starting from that point, Mr. Ambassador, why does it matter for a Nigerian to go to vote again one more time?
Well, it is very important for a Nigerian to vote. First, it is a basic civic duty to elect those who are going to be in charge of our affairs, those who are going to organize the economy, those who are going to organize the people, the social life, and the politics too. So it is very, very important to steer Nigeria in the right direction. Nigeria being a very important country in Africa. I'm saying this not because I am a Nigerian. If you look at the map of Africa, you will see that Nigeria is strategically located at the juncture of West and Central Africa. And if you look at it, it's roughly equidistant to all parts of Africa. From Nigeria to North Africa is about a flight of about 3 to 4 hours. From Nigeria to South Africa is about 3 to 4 hours. Closer to West Africa, though, 1 or 2 hours. I think the farthest in West Africa is Senegal. I think you can get there within 3 hours. So, and the dynamic population of Nigeria, if I may quote Professor Lumumba the other time, he said, the best lawyers are in Nigeria, the best pastors are in Nigeria, and also the best Yahoo boys are in Nigeria. Well, it looked like in a lighter mood, but that is the truth of it. We have Nigerians all over Africa. So what happens in Nigeria matters to Africa a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is, as a fact, it's going to be one of the questions regarding Africa. But I want to go through Prince or King, which is Eze Negus. I want to ask you, how did you see Nigerian election?
Thank you very much for that question. Your question, I think I have already addressed it in chapter 4 and chapter 7 of my book, titled Our Freedom Pillars. And then chapter 4 is subtitled Nuances of Democracy. And then chapter 7 talks about dialogue transcends war. However, I want to share with us here today that what we're talking about is democracy, civic responsibilities. On February 25th, 2023, Nigeria once again went to the polls to elect who will steer the mantle of leadership of Nigeria as president for the next 4 years at least. And we know that democracy is like Western culture that was introduced to Nigeria by our colonial masters, same to some other African countries. And we have tried to practice it by the time we got independence in 1960, all the way to 1963 when we became a republic. And in 1966, there was outbreak of civil war in Nigeria that lasted till 1970. And from then till 1979, Nigeria has been ruled by military. From 1979 to 1983, civilians took over. From 1983 again to 1999, we were ruled by military junta. And from 1999 till date, by the grace of God, we've had civilian administration. So far, it has been like experimental stage, and it has not been like what we want it to be, just like every other part of Africa and the world. So I want to say that prior to the advent of the Europeans, the colonial masters, Nigerians had their own system of governance. We used traditional system to rule our people, but our colonial masters came and introduced democracy, which was Western culture, or is still Western culture. And you want to realize that democracy is coined from Greek word, two Greek words. One is demos, and the other one is kratos. Demos means people. Kratos means authority or rule. So, like I said, nuances of democracy. What obtains in the West, for instance, America as democracy, is not what obtains in Nigeria. So the election was conducted. There was an umpire. The umpire is called INEC, which means Independent National Electoral Commission, in abbreviation, INEC. INEC has the authority from the laws of Nigeria to conduct and announce and declare a winner in the elections. However, on the 25th, that election was conducted by INEC, and subsequently INEC declared Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the election. And like you know, every election there will be, disagreements and all that, especially anybody that did not win the election. So that is what we are seeing now. The other candidates have refused to recognize the person who's been declared the winner in the person of Bola Tinubu, and some are threatening to go to court and all that. However, whether they go to court or embark on civil unrest, I think I have also addressed it in chapter 7 of my book, where I says dialogue transcends war. We cannot afford to go back to war in Nigeria. There is always ways out to, settle differences. It may not be the best that we had expected, but it is what it is. I tell everybody that the worst civilian administration is better than the best military administration. In line with what my brother Ambassador we said about Nigeria in Africa. Because what happens in Nigeria has implication to the rest of Africa. Because take it or leave it. I don't know. If you have map of Africa, take a look at it. When you flip it sideways, it looks like a shotgun. And like you said, Nigeria is strategically located at the western corridor. So when you flip it, it looks like a shotgun. Nigeria is the trigger. And at the end is South Africa, the nozzle. So if Nigeria boils, it is going to invariably affect other Africans. That is why everybody is interested in what happens in Nigeria. And like you know, economically, Nigeria is like the hub of Africa. For instance, most transactions, most investments, most economic activities that happen around Africa revolve around Lagos State. Lagos, they say, is a no man's land. I don't believe it's a no man's land. Lagos belongs to the tribe in Nigeria that is known as Yoruba. You have to give it to them. No matter what the Europeans did or colonial masters did, that is the truth. I have to say it. I want to digress a little bit by saying that, to the best of my knowledge, the current governor of Lagos State, his name is Sawolu. I have not met him before. But look, I think that young man has done well and is doing well as far as infrastructure, as far as investment, as far as empowerment. You know, in so many areas, he has not been found wanting, including, and without any limitation, inclusion. He's been running an inclusive government. So to the best, my own opinion, he deserves a second term. And I urge every diaspora, I urge every Nigerian, especially those that dwell in Lagos, to re-elect him so that he will continue to deliver the good. Democracy is not like, democracy is not served a la carte. You know, power, they say, consists nothing without demand. So people have the right, people have the opportunity today to say, look, this is who we want, and this is how we want it. That is, you know, exercising their civic responsibility. So in so doing, we are shaping our tomorrow today. It cannot be perfect, but we are getting there. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for highlighting that, because I will come to this question too as well, the issue of ethnics and possibly how it going in Nigeria. I know more about here now than maybe in other places. But back to Ambassador, what do you say about election, this past election? It was a fair election or it was not?
Well, thank you once again. I think to a reasonable extent, the elections were peaceful. It's only in pockets of places where you had some reported violence. Among the elections we have been having in Nigeria, this is an election in which nobody died. I mean, there's been no report of deaths. However, this is not to say that everything was smooth sailing. There are some of the contestants complained about the promises that the electoral umpire made with respect to uploading the result, the data from the polling unit directly onto the INEC server and to the IRF. Because the electoral umpire has not come out to tell us what happened, that it could not do this as it promised. However, there was also, if that could not be done, the electoral umpire resorted to the manual collation of results. Now, every political party that participated in the election had a signed copy of the result at the polling unit. And to all intents and purposes, you can actually use, before the electoral umpire announces a winner, you can do a honest collation on your own. That is the political parties using their individual situation rooms could collate and see the direction of the vote. However, there are some states in which the election had to spill into Sunday. The election was held on Saturday, the 25th, but because of maybe logistics or whatever, elections could not start in good time. And therefore, it had to be postponed till it has to be held the following day. So those are some of the problems that characterize the election. And like the Eze said, there are constitutional provisions for any aggrieved party to contest the results of the elections. And luckily, all the presidential candidates, at least at the major parties who are speaking, we have 4 major contestants among about 18 parties. So the 4 major contestants are united in pursuing whatever grievances through the legal avenue. Now, about the election itself. The election, like I mentioned, was mainly between 4 major political parties. And since for a long time, this is an election in which we are having the major ethnic groups in Nigeria, each having a candidate. I mean,
oh man,
so
okay.
you can imagine how competitive this will be. The candidate of the ruling All Progressive Congress comes from the southwest of Nigeria. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party comes from the northeast, and the candidate of the Labour Party comes from the southeast. The candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party comes from the north, specifically Kano. So this is the nature of the competition. The array of candidates that are jostling for the plum prize is representative of the dynamism of the Nigerian polity. More so, it is very important the person who will succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, because Nigerians have had it very tough in the last couple of years. The economy has not been running well. Security was of a major concern. You have Boko Haram in the northeast, and you have some kidnappings and kidnapping for ransom in the northwest, which has extended actually to all parts of the country. That it is very difficult to travel as we used to do when we were young. You have to consider so many things before you embark on a journey. In fact, if it's not a place if it's a place you cannot fly to, most journeys have been shelved because of the dangers that one could experience on the road. So it has been tough for Nigerians, and they want somebody who is competent, who has capacity to address these humongous problems to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari. And I'm happy that the election has produced somebody who is, let me first of all say, before I talk about the president-elect, all the major candidates, they have demonstrated capacity to do better, to do better than what we have today. So that is the positive of this election. All the people that came forward gunning for this position, we know from their track record. Atiku of the People's Democratic Party was a former vice president. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor of Lagos for 8 years, and he left his record there. Mr. Peter Obi, Dr. Peter Obi, sorry, was a governor in Anambra State, and he left also his track record. So we need to give it to all the major candidates in this election that they are people that inspire confidence, and this should give us added impetus to follow to follow the whoever is emerges our leader at the end of the day. But before I hand over to you, if you look at the results of the elections, whoever wins is actually in a minority. You may have majority votes, but if you total the votes of the opposition, it's actually more than the vote of whoever is declared winner. So the new president coming in must be magnanimous in victory, to extend a hand of fellowship to all the other contestants and to see how they can make it better. I think this is what I want to say for now, until you have more questions, and then we can go into details. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I just want to be sure I touch on some very, very important point you talked about, ethnics. Mr. King on Goose, can you please address the question of ethnics in Nigeria? Because we don't know. We know, I know some other areas, but most of Africans, we have different ethnics, and we don't know, we don't understand. By the way, that is the reason why we were able to be colonized, because the hairstyle and not understanding each other when it comes to our ethnics was the reason why we were colonized. So tell us a little more about ethnics and how these ethnics can play a big role on impacting elections.
Yes, thank you again for that question. Nigeria pretty much is made up of about 250 ethnic groups, predominantly 3 major tribes: the Hausas, the Yorubas, and the Igbos. I am of Igbo extraction, but I want to tell you, let me caution, I even want to warn that I am a detribalized Nigerian. I was raised both in the north, in the west, and I am of Eastern extraction. So I am all-round Nigerian. I can speak these 3 major tribes, a little bit of their language. Okay? It gives me joy to be amongst any tribe in Nigeria, whether you're Yoruba, Hausa, Ibibio, Efik, or wherever, you know, wherever you come from, we are Nigerians. And what is primus inter pares, first amongst equals, is moving Nigeria forward. However, let me narrow down my discussion on the 3 major tribes, because Nigeria leans on tripod stand. The Yorubas are in the western part of Nigeria. That's where you have Lagos, Ogun State, Oyo State, Ekiti State, and the rest of them. And then in the north, northern Nigeria is predominantly Muslims. That's also the Sahara. That's where you have even the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Kano, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Katsina, and the rest of them. And then in the east, you have Imo State, Anambra, Enugu, and the rest of them. And, you know, it used to be 3 regions. 3 regions. These 3 regions were carved by then colonial master named Lord Lugard. We had the northern region, the western region, and the eastern region. But today we have multiplicity of states, 36 states precisely, including the Federal Capital Territory, which is not a state, just like Washington, D.C. Okay? So these 3 tribes, before this time, there used to be like Cold War between the tribes. This person will say, oh, this is Yoruba. This person will say, this is Igbo. This one will say, oh, this is Hausa. But this very election is so important because it had by far bridged that chasm that divides us as a people. If you look at His Excellency Peter Obi, for instance, he is Igbo. But you look at the votes he's been able to get, he was, by all means, he was accepted in the West. He won in Lagos State, which is the Bola Tinubu's state. He won in that state. That will tell you that he was accepted there. He won in FCT, which is North, in Nasarawa and Plateau State. The same thing with Bola Tinubu. He won in Rivers State and other states in the North and in the West. Okay? The same thing also applies to Atiku. He got some states in the North, some states in the West, and some states in the East. That is, South Nigeria. Except Kwankwaso, who only got Kano State. But that does not mean that he did not get some votes in other parts of Nigeria. So all I'm trying to say is that the election transcends tribal leaning. It goes beyond political affiliation. It also goes beyond religious affiliation. People came out en masse, feelings, their minds through ballot. It was not what we expected. Nothing is complete. Nothing is perfect in life. There are loopholes here and there. Okay? People are agitating, but thank God we are in democracy. In other words, we have the judiciary to address some of the agitations or concerns of the candidates. However, there is, in law, we say that there is presumption, in criminal law, there is presumption of innocence until somebody is proved to be guilty. So if, for instance, you're accused of stealing my iPad, for instance, and the law says you are not a thief until the court or prosecution prove that, look, you actually dispossessed me of my own belonging. So the electoral umpire has declared a winner. In the interim, there is a president-elect. And I seize this opportunity to say congratulations to His Excellency Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It was really, really, really hard fought. Every candidate fought very hard. It's only one position, the office of the president, just one. Only one person will sit on that seat. Whether it's a woman, a boy, a girl, whoever, one person. But for now, the umpire has pronounced until the contrary is proved, until the court says, no, you did not win. I want to give you an instance. About 17 years ago, Peter Obi went to court to challenge the election of Anambra State that produced current Minister of Education. Is education Ngige?
Labor.
As the governor of Anambra State. He went to court. At the end of the day, court overturned that election and declared him winner. But before then, Chris Ngige was the governor, and he was addressed as His Excellency, and everybody congratulated him. But when everything changed, Peter Obi became the governor, and then people started switching the congratulations to Peter Obi. So I want people to understand this thing. It's a legal argument. There is a law that rules, guides everything. Whether you're Yoruba, whether you're Igbo, whether you're Hausa, I am happy how peaceful everything has been going so far, because everybody had expected that declaring the election result would have set Nigeria on fire. But lo and behold, all the aspirants are telling their people, please calm down, calm down. Don't take to streets, don't demonstrate, no violence. There is a system, there is a process. We will challenge it. We have grievances, we will challenge it. And when we challenge it, that whatever is the outcome, we'll take it from there. That is the part I like about the contestants or the aspirants. They have shown very high level of maturity. They have demonstrated beyond all reasonable doubt that, look, there is no engagement that overrides the interest of Nigeria. And that is what gives me joy. And look, at the end of the day, by May 29th, whoever it is will be sworn in. And I use this opportunity once again to urge all Nigerians, especially those in the diaspora, to queue and support the government. We cannot afford to destroy ourselves. We have this opportunity to continue to better ourselves for good, if not for less, for the future generation. Because there is this saying that if you fail to raise your children very well, then you will have the duty of raising your grandchildren. But when you raise your own children very well, your own duty will now be to raise your grandchildren. I leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So there was another question I was going to ask you, but you already answered that. You discussed that you guys, you have ethnics, but actually they were not. They did not play. It was not like, hey, I vote Yoruba because I'm Yoruba. I vote Hausa because I'm Hausa. I vote Igbo because I'm Igbo. I vote Benin because I'm Benin. It was not that case. In fact, that people were able to choose, even though they were candidates from those three, most of the time ethnic dominance in Nigeria, but people did not choose them based on the ethnic. They choose them based on what they believe they should be doing. But also, if you look on results, this election is so close. You know, other places, when there's election, you will hear someone have 95%, 85%. This one here, we get it 36%, another one 29%. So this is pretty much like a 5 or 6 close, and another one get 25. So 3 close. So it seems like somehow I can at least maybe try to believe in that, because if no one is on 95 or 85, this is so close to be true. But again, as you say, let's wait and see your court system. If they have not, the rest of candidates did not agree with the results, let's see what the court system is gonna do. We saw that in Kenya, that they were able to take to the court, and the court decided. In fact, I think this is the second time in Kenya it happened that the court have to decide on election, which is, I don't know why we African, we never accept that we lost. Mr. Ambassador, why don't we accept that, hey, you know what, you beat me, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Why? What is the problem with that?
I think, thank you. I think that is, you have just touched on a very, very, very important behavior of our people in Africa, and now particularly in Nigeria. In Nigeria, it's only the election that brought President Muhammadu Buhari to power that was not contested in the courts. So of all the elections we have been having, only one, only one time the candidate conceded defeat before even the announcement by the umpire.
Who is that?
This is something that we all Africans must work on.
Who was that? Who was that, sir?
It was President Goodluck Jonathan.
Jonathan, okay.
Yeah, who conceded defeat to President Buhari. So this is something that we must learn in Africa. When I was in Washington, I tried to organize our people to have what you call a credit union. Now, this credit union is all of you know the nature of the American society. Everything you have to do, you do it by credit. And then you go to some banks, and maybe because of your race or something, you get a 7% interest rate. So if they did that credit union, you could have lowered their interest rate to something like 3% or 2%. But it was a Herculean task getting our people to come together to do these things that will be very beneficial to us. So I make this point to say this is a problem that we must address, both in the diaspora and Africans in Africa. We must see the community interest far above individual interest. It is individual interests that make people to dispute elections. Look at the current election in Nigeria. We have 4 major candidates. One of them has been declared winner, but the other 2 are saying, I'm the one who won. Dr. Peter Obi said, I'm the one who won. Atiku Abubakar is saying, I'm the one who won. So, I mean, we are not going to share the presidency into 3. So it has to be only one person that will win. So in Africa, we need to drum up our unity and have a better orientation towards unity in carrying out that. Because this is what the colonial masters and even the metropolitan powers still today are utilizing to divide Africa. Africa has the resources. Africa has the people. But why is it not possible for us to aggregate these people and develop our economy and politics? Now we have created the Continental African Free Trade area. How is it working? But because of the non-cooperative nature of the African, we are having problems in that area. So it is a major issue that we need to be conscious of and to address at every forum, because the survival of Africa depends on the unity of Africa. And by extension, the survival of Nigeria depends on the unity of Nigerians. Unity in the political area. The economic area is even easier because when you go to the market, it doesn't look at your face whether you are a northerner or you are a westerner or you are a southerner. The same thing, if you are hungry, you are hungry. It does not differentiate whether you are Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. So we must make conscious effort to propagate these ideas and to really drum it in. Let's not deceive ourselves. There are people who vote for some candidates because it is a candidate of their place of origin. There are people who vote for candidates because they believe he's more competent. Like the Eze said, we are glad that in this election, it is not restricted to no candidate is restricted to one corner. There is a good spread. And let me tell you, the law in Nigeria requires a candidate that will be elected not only to have the majority of votes, but to have at least 25% of the votes cast in each of at least 2/3 of the states in Nigeria. There are 36 states, which means a candidate that will be elected must have at least 25% of the votes cast in minimum of 24 states. So minimum of 24 states, you cannot put it in one region. It's spread in the north. In the north, you have 19 states, and in the south, you have 16 states, I think. But
17.
So if you are going to have 24 states, you must go around the country. You cannot be restricted in one part of the country. And we are happy that the 3 major candidates, only Rabiu Kwankwaso was restricted to Kano State in northern Nigeria. We have the 3 other candidates having votes, like Deze said. I mean, Peter Obi won in Lagos. Atiku Abubakar won in Osun State, which is one of the western states, and Tinubu won in several states in the north. So it's a positive development for Nigerian politics that we are beginning to gel together. The results of election reveal that we are beginning to understand ourselves more. And maybe what we need to do is a little bit of adjustments here and there, so that all the sentiments, religious and ethnic sentiments, can be limited to the background. You see, before I hand over to you, let me tell you, because people don't know, Nigeria is a very complicated politics. Let me make an analogy. It's like putting the Germans, the French, and the English together in one country. You know, that's not going to be easy to administer, and it's not going to be easy to get things. Each ethnic group, well, some people say they are detribalized. The tribe is created by God, and anything that is created by God is good. We have to design our politics to utilize the high points of these ethnic groups, so that they become complementary to each other. There are people that are good in commerce, there are people that are good in industry, and there are people that are good in agriculture, all within Nigeria. So the effective leader is the one that will be able to aggregate all these. We put in place a mechanism for unleashing the potentials of each group to the benefit of the country at large. This is what we need to do, and we can only do it in an atmosphere of understanding, in an atmosphere of unity, and in an atmosphere where ethnic and religious rhetoric is reduced to the barest minimum. I yield to you for now.
Thank you so much. Let me put this on for a second, then we're gonna be right back.
The mission noted that, despite the much-needed reforms from the Electoral Act of 2022, the elections still fell well short of Nigerians' legitimate and reasonable expectations. Voters' trust in the process has been shaken by INEC's lack of transparency. There were numerous missed opportunities to explain the cause and extent of Election Day challenges. The combined effect of these problems disenfranchised Nigerian voters in many parts of the country, although the scope and scale.
Mr. King, this question comes to you. There is someone sent me a message now from online. He asked me, why do we African allow non-African to observe our election?
Thank you again for that question. Whoever sent the question, I want you to know that, like I said before, our democracy is still evolving. We're still developing. You know, it's not where we want it to be. Don't make no mistakes about this, because democracy is a foreign culture imposed on us Africans by our colonial masters. Prior to the advent of the Europeans, we had our own system of government that was functional. However, let it be clear that our traditional system of government and the Western system of government, what is now known as democracy, there is a meeting point. And that meeting point is called majority rule. That is why you get government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So you see the observers, they come because we invite them to come to observe. You also understand that a lot of times when they conduct their own elections, they don't even invite us. We don't go to observe. So because we have not gotten to where we're supposed to be, that's where we are still having what is called inferiority complex. Call it neo-colonialism, if you will. The Western countries, they have economic interest in all African countries. So whenever election is going on, they want to come to observe and make sure that the security of their investments is guaranteed. A case in point is Nigeria. The hallmark is crude oil. They always come to make sure that they will continue to lift crude oil to their various countries. So any government that will not guarantee that, they will do whatever they can to scuttle it. That's why you have coup d'etat in Africa. That is the only place you can hear coup d'etat. You cannot hear coup d'etat in Europe. You cannot hear of coup d'etat in America. It is only in Africa, and they know it is illegal. So whoever asked the question should know that, yes, we are evolving, and we have a functional democratic system whereby there are 3 organs of government. You have the executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary. You know, so the judiciary, they say, is the last hope of common man. I have this to say. Judiciary is supposed to be the last hope of common man. But a lot of times you realize that the judiciary is biased, in other words, compromised. I want to define law in the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes. I love his definition of law so much. He defines law as the bad man. He said, I am much of his mind, the bad man. The prophecies of what the court will say or do, and nothing more pretentious, is the law. So if you go to court today and the court sees this thing, which is water, and say, no, this is not water, it is blood, it becomes the law. That is the interpretation the court gives it. The lawmakers, the legislature makes laws. Then these laws are for the executive to execute. However, if there are disputes, as in this case, it is for the judiciary to interpret it. Just like the looming argument as to the position of law with respect to Federal Capital Territory in the election. I'm not trying to preempt what the court will say or how the court will interpret it. But I'm trying to say that in the past, there is a decided case about status of Federal Capital Territory. And the court said that, and in the law, in the enabling law towards electing the president, which says, like Ambassador Idowu said, that you must have garnered at least 25% votes in 2/3 of all the states in Nigeria. All the states in Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory. That "and" has been construed by the court to mean conjunctive. That means you must get 25% in 2/3, which is 24 states, and also get that 25% in FCT. However, what happened when that judgment was given is not what happened on the 25th of February. So I leave it to the judiciary to interpret. They are at liberty to give whatever interpretation that will suit the situation, because every case is determined upon its own merit. You cannot, you are wearing a red shirt, and then if I want to come to you now, and then I must wear a red shirt that tallies what you're wearing, or the beautiful hat that Idowu is wearing, I must wear it to come to him. No, you have to look at my own situation and see, does what I'm wearing tally, for instance? Okay, so that is my response to that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Your Excellency Ambassador, quick question. Your comrade, he mentioned that democracy is something we were imposed on by colonizers. And do you think we should continue with this kind of democracy things?
Thank you for the question. We have no choice but to continue with democracy. it is true that democracy was imposed on us, but so are also the boundaries of our nations. If we go back to the olden days, the Yorubas have their Oba, which is hereditary, which is accepted, and it is known. The Igbos, they have their Obis, which is hereditary. I think which is based on their achievements in society. I may be wrong about this.
Yes,
and also,
you're wrong.
So you have in each African society an organized system of rulership and succession. But the colonial masters came, they put all sorts of societies together and brought democracy with it. Now, the African leaders, in their wisdom, decided to allow the boundaries inherited from colonialism to remain. Therefore, we cannot say we are going to have an Oba for Nigeria. It's not possible. So we have to continue to work to make the democracy succeed. It is not something that is impossible. So, however, I want to say something quickly about the foreign observers. While it is true that they are monitoring their interests, they are also making sure that Africa is not completely free from them. And this is where we have to be careful. You see, they claim to be our friends, but in actual fact, I used to tell my friends in the Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce that our interests are not necessarily coextensive. I take the American example. America wants to sell goods to Africa, but our interest in Africa is to export goods. So if you see that, there is a little conflict there. And by the nature of conflict, is usually resolved in favor of the more powerful component. So we have to achieve that balance of making sure that the African interest is not sacrificed while we are carrying out this strange system, and while we are trying to improve, and we are trying to better our life using this system that is strange to us. So the foreign observers, they are there today, but it will please me in future that African elections are overseen by African observers. And we are happy that the West Africa, ECOWAS and the African Union, they had an input in observing the last elections. So also the Commonwealth and of course other Western groups. Now, the view of the African about a particular situation is different from the way a Westerner will look at things. When they conduct their elections in the West, you don't even know. But in Africa, we have to impose no movement. We have to take all measures that are not necessary in the West. So until we are able to fine-tune this system to such an extent that our electoral process, when we are approaching elections, it doesn't look as if we are going to war, because as of today, it still looks as if we are going to war. So we have to still continue to work with these foreign observers, but at the same time, we must not allow our own interests as Africans to be lost in the interplay of power between the colonial masters and the African elite. That is my view of foreign election observers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. So, Mr. Ambassador, you touch on something, and I want to come very close to that. As you know, I'm a true believer of African nationalists or Pan-Africanists. which means that I strongly believe in the United States of Africa. And you say that our elders, our founding fathers, they decided to leave the borders between our countries, which is true in around 80%, but around 20% is not true, because Kwame Nkrumah, His Excellent, whom I'm almost like a student of, he strongly opposed the borders to remain in Africa. He said that we should have United States of Africa, which means the border should be corrupted. Even in Nyerere, in his speech, there is no future for Africa in 1999 in Accra, Ghana, he again come and said the same thing, that to mobilize Africans, it should not be based on ethnics or based on other things. Instead, it should be based on who we are, which is Black people. So we should unite. Otherwise, we don't have any future without unity. So now, some other question came in, which is relating to that. What is the position of Nigeria when it comes to Pan-Africanism and Black nationalists? What is the position of Nigeria? King Eze, can you take on this question? What is the Pan-African states in Nigeria? Because you guys, you are a very, very big voice for Africa. In fact, the reason why we are lagging behind on economically lagging behind, African Continental Free Trade Area lagging behind, peace lagging behind, everything, even technology and innovations, everything is because Nigeria is lagging behind. What is the state of Pan-Africanism in Nigeria today?
Yes, the situation as far as Pan-Africanism is concerned can be dated back to the pre-independence era, when Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Herbert Macaulay, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and the rest of them were fighting for our independence. They were united. Africans were united. They spoke with one voice. Like those who, the elites, were able to come together, reason together, and say, look, enough is enough. I make reference to one Mazen Bono Ojike. He was schooled in UK. He came back, he gave up his English name, Francis. He gave us his doctorate. He decided to go completely cultural, Mazi, which is Igbo name for Mr. Mbono Ojike, and he was known for his slogan, boycott all boycottables. I repeat myself, boycott all boycottables. What he meant by that is boycott Western culture. He never wore suit or tie. He was wearing native anywhere he goes, just like me. Anywhere he goes, he was known for wearing natives. So I'm trying to say that Nigerians are at the forefront of Pan-Africanism. Name them. Abofumi Awolowo, Waziri Ibrahim, Aminu Kanu, and the rest of them. And then in Africa, other African, they all came together. So now you remember during the apartheid system of government in South Africa, it was Nigeria that, saw it as a priority. Nigeria made a budget, and Nigeria made a lot of accommodations for South Africans. They brought them in, gave them accommodation. In my hometown, Okigwe, there is this unity school that is called Federal Government College, Okigwe. Most South Africans were sent there. I schooled with some of them. They were on scholarship, government scholarship. Those were the kind of things Nigeria did to aid Africa, other African countries that were struggling. When Zimbabwe was struggling for independence, before 1980, when they got their independence, Nigeria was solidly behind them until they got their independence. Before 2000, when there was civil war in Liberia and Sierra Leone, Nigeria was the one that was able to bring West African countries together under one umbrella that was called ECOMOG. It was a military force. The soldiers that fought that war were predominantly Nigerians. Nigeria sent them to war, and they fought and ended the war in Liberia. The same thing they did in Sierra Leone. They went there, fought, and ended the war in Sierra Leone. What am I trying to say? Both West, Europe, and America were there watching these countries kill themselves. They were busy selling ammunition to them. But Nigeria single-handedly brought all these other Africans together and said, look, enough is enough. The recent case at Burkina Faso, when there was a military junta, Nigerian government, under the leadership of Muhammad Buhari, gave a word. And before you know it, it was all over. The government gave a soft landing for the military to give way, even though there is still a problem there all over the places. All I'm trying to say is Nigeria is at the forefront of Pan-Africanism, even though Nigeria is not where it's supposed to be. Because in law, we say those who go to equity must go with clean hands. Nigeria needs to reassert its status as giant of Africa, leading with example. The election that was conducted last time is supposed to be transparent. If the election was transparent, if there were no hitches, like Section 65 of the Electoral Act that provided for the INEC to transmit, that's the transmit results from polling unit to, the collection center. You understand? If they had kept by that, there wouldn't be any dispute. No dispute. Anybody that dispute, Nigerians would say, enough is enough, go and rest. You understand? After all, President Muhammadu Buhari contested not once, not twice, not thrice, 4 times before he became the president of Nigeria. And he defeated the incumbent, who was quick to congratulate him. That's why Jonathan remains a Pan-Africanist, because of that humble thing he did. Subsequently, in 2019, Atiku went to court to contest that he won the election. That case lingered till, I think, sometime last year when it ended. Do you understand? So I believe that Nigeria is at the forefront of Pan-Africanism. I believe that answers your question. Like Idowu said, I want to digress a little bit, on the question you asked him. What was it again? How did you coin that question you asked him?
Which question was that? I don't remember.
The last question, Ambassador Idowu answered.
I think the last question was...
Yeah, you asked him about colonialism.
It was on foreign observer missions in Nigeria.
Yes.
No, you digressed to foreign observer. You asked him about colonialism. Then he digressed to foreign observers. I remember very well. So I want to chip in a little thing there, because this discussion will not be complete if we do not share our thoughts about, colonialism, like, the influence of colonial masters. That means the Europeans and Americans on our polity. I said it before, and I repeat it again, that we have not gotten to where we are supposed to be. We are gradually getting there. It is not yet perfect. Yeah, people are, agitating and all that. They have every right to agitate. Yes, they do. When you go to polling unit or booth to vote, and the election materials refuse to arrive on time, and you stay there under sun or rain, after a long hour, you have to go back, you feel disenfranchised. So there are lapses here and there, just like the foreign observers noted. So it calls for the electoral umpire to, make amends and make sure that some of those mistakes, some of those errors, some of those loopholes do not reoccur until we get it to where we're supposed to be. Then we would have been a mirror for other Africans to emulate. Because, look, I said it and I keep saying it, nothing is perfect. We had a system before the Europeans came. Imposed it on us, and we had no choice but to accept it. And they imposed it on us, making it look as if it was in our own interest. Like, I give you an instance in the Igbo states. They introduced, the colonial masters introduced all over Nigeria, except in the north. Yeah, even in the north, they introduced what, due to shortage of personnel, they introduced what is known as indirect rule system of government. In which case, for instance, government then was pretty much about collection of taxes. So they were using the already established traditional institutions, that's the emirs, to collect taxes from their subjects and then send back to the colonial masters. So they didn't have to bother to go and begin to chase people around to collect taxes from them. But in the South, it wasn't so. We resisted. That was what gave rise to the 1929 Aba Women's Riot, because the colonial masters imposed taxes on women. And our women protested. They said we cannot be paying taxes. In the north, the women were not paying taxes. And other places, we protested. The south, we are known for agitation. We are known to fight for our right. If we say, look, this is what belongs to us, we will fight for it. And it was for us. But in the north, the system of government was embedded in religion, the Islamic religion. Islamic religion is such that you must obey the emir. Whatever the emir says is the law. You must obey. You dare not oppose the emir. So it was very smooth for them, because the emirs told the colonial masters, please don't come to our area. We will collect these taxes and send to you. And it was okay for them. They collect the taxes and give to them, you know, without any stress. But we were agitated. We will say, no, you don't have to tax us. And they forced it on us. They introduced education to us, and we thought education was good, and it is still good. Education is Western culture. In the north, they say, no, don't bring your education to our palaces. We will have our Sharia system of government. We have our Sharia system of legal system. We have everything Islamic. So we are good. Don't come and adulterate our already existing system. So the colonial masters introduced an ordinance, that is law. In that law, they call it the repugnancy clause. What the full meaning of that repugnancy clause is that they abolished any practice, norm, custom, tradition, or culture that was repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, including killing of twins, worshiping of deities, anything at all. Our people who used to worship trees and all kinds of deity in those days. But these colonial masters came and said, look, we have abolished it. You will see like an Iroko tree, mahogany, that may have lasted for in excess of 500 years, so big and all that. People will go there and be bound before they listen. This colonial master came, they cut it down, took the timber overseas and all that. Nothing happened to them. But our people felt that, look, cutting that thing was a bad omen. Anybody that tried it was going to die. But these people came. They even had some animals that were dedicated to deities. Nobody ever ate them. But this colonial master came and took the best of them and, you know, did justice to them. And nothing happened to them. You know? Yeah, so let me leave it at that. Thank you.
Let me play this little quickly, then I will be right back.
Okay.
And please call it by its name, IET, not anything that you hear other people calling it. Thank you. This is a land that the founders sat down and decided would be the refuge for all Black people throughout the world. It's not whatever little group is living on it. It's not the possession, the propriety of the little group that is there now. But their vision was, we're gonna create this space here. as a place where any black person running from any kind of oppressing havoc, oppressing chaos, they can come here. And instantly, any black person who set foot on this land becomes automatically free and a citizen. They went further. They said anyone freeing slavery who comes to Haiti will be free. But if you're black, you are free and a citizen. Now that is the mission of this country. So Haiti does not mean this small geographical space there. Haiti is, as far as I know, the only island in the Caribbean that has its original name. Even though the Caribbean people there, it is estimated there were between 2 and 3.5 million Arawaks on the island in 1492. 11 years later, it was estimated less than 100,000 people were living on this island.
Thank you so much for coming back. We were taking a little break and talking or listening to about Haiti, which is the country, the first country in the world as a black country or black nation to be free or to be liberated, to be independent. So now back to our conversation. We are talking about Nigerian election. Let me see if I can ask you guys a question. Based on the map we have, let me put up the map around here. Let me see. The map we have here of African or Western African countries. You guys, I hope you can see this very well. The map we have here, we have where it is Nigeria, and then we have other numbers, which is there is number 2 next to Nigeria is Benin, and then number 3, which is a little further, is Togo, and we have Niger. I always wonder what's the difference between Niger and Nigeria, but also, anyways, because all of them from Greek language means black. So, anyways, one is in Niger area, which is black area, and another one is Niger, which is black. But anyways, so number 4 is Ghana. It's not far off from Nigeria, and then in north there is Mali, and number 1, which is Burkina Faso. We'll talk about that. So, talking about Pan-Africanism, this question is gonna go to Mr. His Excellency Ambassador, because I hope he knows very well. Why is Nigeria not uniting with any of those countries around? There's so bunch of countries around there. Why is Nigeria not united? We've created a full state or federation, I can say, at least with 1 or 2 of those countries, neighbor countries. Why?
Well, the reason is very simple. You didn't know the difference between Niger and Nigeria. The difference is Niger was colonized by the French, whereas Nigeria was the British. So that is a basic and sharp difference. Whereas you have Hausa people on both sides of the border. I don't know if you have read the book by one of our historians, Partitioned Africans, where you have Africans on either side of international boundaries. So those are some of the problems that we have. Pan-Africanism, yes. Nigeria officially, in fact, no country has done so as much as Nigeria for Pan-Africanism. In fact, let me tell you, Nigerian foreign policy says Africa is the centerpiece of our policy. And that has been actually in spirit and in truth. I won't go into all that Eze has said about our contributions to the liberation movement in Southern Africa, in Liberia, in Darfur, everywhere. So it is not something that it goes beyond saying that Nigeria official policy is Pan-Africanist. Now, the problem arises, first of all, because of divided Africans, partitioned Africans, linguistically differentiated Africans. You are talking about Benin Republic and Nigeria. Most of the people in Benin Republic are Yoruba of the southwestern Nigeria, but some speak French and some speak English. And I don't know whether you have tried it. Try to cross the border from Nigeria to Benin Republic. It's such full of hassles. All these are things that have been created, first of all, by colonialism, and it still continue to be festered by colonial masters to ensure that we remain disunited. So now, what is the way forward? We are still going back to the gradualist approach, because we cannot ask Benin now to give the Yorubas in Benin to join Yoruba in Nigeria, or to ask the Hausas in northern Nigeria to join the Hausas in Niger. Okay? We have to do by policies and by actions to put our people together and see how we can move forward. Another area that is very, very crucial is the language. What language are we going to adopt? These are some of the issues, and you see, it may look so easy to talk about, but when you come to doing these things, then you see that the problems that need to be solved. Nigeria is in favor of unity. Nigeria wants to unite with. That's why we are in ECOWAS. In fact, the colonial masters used to say ECOWAS is Nigeria writ large. What it means is ECOWAS, even Nigeria in official policy, sees ECOWAS as our backyard. So everything we do with the interest of ECOWAS at heart. We introduced the common ECOWAS currency, but it has not been allowed to work due to the activities of colonial masters. We cannot talk to our Francophone brothers freely without interference from their colonial master. Of course, you are aware of the pact for the continuation of colonialism. Nigeria is in the forefront for the abrogation of such obnoxious international agreements. But it's like when you are fighting a battle, and the person, if you are fasting because of somebody, and the person is eating away, then you want to say, well, this is the person because of person I'm fasting, but he's eating. So it's like we condemn these things on behalf of our Francophone brothers, but our Francophone brothers are not taking the right steps to raise their voice against these policies. We are happy now that there are some movements in Mali and Burkina Faso to enforce their sovereignty. It's a good development. It should be encouraged. But Nigeria has been in the forefront of all these activities. So this is the position of Nigeria, and we will continue to champion this, even with the new leadership that we put in place, because Nigeria has been consistent over the years in upholding the dignity of the black man, or first of all the African, and then the black man everywhere. Just like the video you showed us of Haiti, we are always in support of the emancipation of the black man wherever he may be found in the world. This is Nigeria's policy, but there are problems, and those problems demand a lot of resources and a lot of tact to be able to overcome them. That is what is happening on the ground.
Thank you so much for that. Now you touched the issue of language, which I hope you know that I come to Ethiopia for that purpose, to push to push it to see if we African can have one unified language. It's been almost 3 years now. I am in Ethiopia. I haven't come back to America at all. Yeah, Eze, you remember me, King Eze, that I was with you over there. So it's one of the most of tiresome and very, very tough task when it comes to the language. And by the way, it has to be tough because this is where we have been choked. We are colonized and elected through the languages. Let me tell you, in 1941, less than 1% of African could speak proper English. 1941, less than 1% of African. And you guys, you know this because if you ask your parents, they did not speak English. So from that time until today, Commonwealth, these British councils, this is state departments, all those kind of areas, you cannot even count how many there are. They have been injecting French in us, English in us, even Germany as well. And progressively, Chinese as well is coming. If it is not in your villages, just wait 10 years, you will see what I'm talking about. So while Tanzania were trying to be like to stand up for Swahili, for instance, and make the language Swahili as the language of instructions in schools in Tanzania, there was so many sanctions here and there. Every time Tanzania tried that, they get sanctioned because the language is key. Here in Ethiopia, they did national exams for students, and less than 3% passed the national exam to go to secondary schools. 3%. And the question is, are all these students really not good? The answer is not. It's because they are studying in English that the teacher don't speak English, the student don't speak English, and the parents don't speak English. Nobody speaks English in all of that. And now you are bringing exam in English or some of those things that students do not understand. So the question is, the following question is regarding the language. You guys, I know definitely Wul Sainka. I don't know if I pronounced this right or not. Please help me somehow. I think it's Wala Sainka or Wul Sainka.
Wole Sainka. Wole Sainka.
Wale Sainka. Wole Sainka. What does Wole mean?
Go will explain. It's Yoruba.
Wole means the full name is Oluwole. That is, yeah, it's a typical Nigerian, Yoruba name. It means Olu is for God. Wole means coming. That is, you accept the Lord into your heart. You know, that's what it means.
We African, we don't have any name such as Smith. That means nothing. Every name in Africa.
All our names have a meaning.
It definitely does. So Wule Sainka advocated Kiswahili in Nigeria in 1985. That Kiswahili should be in the Nigerian school system, or Nigeria should adopt Kiswahili. But Nigerian did not really welcome that very well because the people were not sure about that. But at the same time, that is the time when Kenya actually included Kiswahili in its school curriculum in 1985. And now when you talk about Swahili, all Nigerians will tell you, oh, that's the Eastern African language, but actually could have been Western Africa if you guys could have taken that on. So now, what is the status of Kiswahili? Because obviously we cannot use Hausa in West Africa, or even in Nigeria, or Yoruba, or Igbo, or Mandinka, or Bambara, or Baminike, or any other language, because those languages are ethnic founded or originate, and they can cause more problem in the future if we try to use them for the unity of Africa than the solution they may give. That's why we're actually pushing Kiswahili, because Kiswahili is mute to those colonial and ethnic languages. So do you guys have anything going on in Nigeria when it comes to Kiswahili?
If I have to come in there, officially there is nothing going on in regards to Swahili, but unofficially, I can tell you that Nigerian languages, particularly Igbo and Yoruba, are Swahili in nature, because Swahili is all about tone language. As you can see in South Africa, in most parts of Africa, their languages are tone language, which means Swahili. Keep in mind that these colonial masters came and they tried to destroy anything that will bring us together. Language is the main thing. If you go to Jamaica, for instance, you notice Swahili, because Jamaicans were, taken from different parts of Africa. And that's why you see them, they speak, what do they call it, Patois?
Yeah, it's Patois.
Patois, yeah, they understand one another, language, tone language. Yet they came from different countries, but they were able to fathom Patois, communicate. Even in Haiti, like you go to Haiti, you see people that practice the same culture as you. I'm Igbo. I see people that practice masquerade as we do it in Igbo land. You see people that practice Yoruba culture practically in Haiti and other cultures. But that language that would have brought us together, they made sure they destroyed it so that we'll not be able to communicate. Like you see, as you mentioned, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and the rest of them, Cameroon. Their colonial masters used what is called cultural assimilation to impose French language on them. They think that French is it, nothing else but French. They forgot about their own language. Everybody is comment ça va bien, all those kind of things. You don't care about your Swahili, the Swahili in you. Swahili is Africa, is our thing. Is our thing. Swahili is as black as Africa. But, well, it is difficult for anybody to call for unity of language in Africa. I say it is difficult. I didn't say it is impossible. It will only be possible when the political situation in Africa is stable. The political situation right now is not stable. There is no way you can introduce good policy in a country where there is no stability. Just like Nigeria. Nigeria is getting better from what it was during the military junta to 1999, when we had the opportunity to rule ourselves again, even though it's not perfect. If you ask me, I will tell you that even the law upon which Nigeria is operating is void ab initio. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the preamble says, we, the people, give to ourselves this law and all that and all that. Which we, the people? It's not Nigerian people that made the law. It was the military that made the law and imposed it on Nigerians. They made the law. There was no civilian administration in power in 1999 when the military made the laws. They imposed it on us, elected the government, gave it to the government, and up till now, that is what we are operating on. Nobody has summoned courage to say, let us now, amend this constitution. We did not give ourselves this constitution. Let's make law that will, befit us, that will serve our purpose. As you know, we have more than 200 ethnic groups in Nigeria. There should be a law that will be able to take care of everybody. The minorities do not feel safe in Nigeria, yet they are part of Nigeria. The same thing with various communities. In Nigeria, we have what is known as federal system of government. In other words, you have the federal government, you have the state government, and you have the local government. And take it or leave it. The local government system is not functional. More than half of the states have not been able to conduct local government elections since 1999. And look, there is a saying that any country, any society that does not work towards the collapse of its grassroots structures is a failed state. What is the grassroots structure in every society? Not only Nigeria, is the communities. The communities. All we have been talking about here is about communities. The real people in the rural areas, in the, the groups, communities. There is community everywhere. Even in America here, there is community and there is community government. These are a set of people that come together. They know what affects them, what perturbs them as a people, and they know what they need. Give them government. You have local government system. In every local government, there are communities that make up this local government. They should push down government to communities. That is what is called government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But they hang it at local government system. That is why the people, there are more people that are poor, that are impoverished. Everybody is clamoring for the cities in search of greener pastures. But when you have electricity, you have water, you have good access road to bring out your whatever you can produce, you don't have anything reason to bother the government. I don't want to bug you with all this, but I just want to state the obvious. So that, because if you don't know, if a doctor doesn't know what your problem is, he will not be in a good position to prescribe the right medication for you. If you are suffering from malaria, for instance, and doctor gives you medicine for hernia, it will not solve your problem. Our problem is we have allowed, the system has allowed the collapse of the grassroots structures. And no society survives the collapse of its grassroots structures, communities. I'm going to recommend it to whoever emerges or whoever takes over on May 29th. This is my own project, and I will take it to National Assembly as an independent bill. Let them include it. Section 7A of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, as I said, has it, but it is ignored. There is a functional community system of governance. It makes everything simple. Take these things to communities and everybody will be okay. Nobody will bother the government. In America, for instance, you have the federal government, you have the state government, you have the counties, and then you have the cities. These are the 4 levels of government in America. And we are saying we are practicing democracy. Grassroots, take this government down to the people and everything will be okay. Language you're talking about, Swahili, it will be easy. When you take it to the communities, if you take it to the city, it's not going to work. Take it to the communities, I tell you it will work. People who are eager to learn new things, especially language. Come. How do you say come in Swahili? You know it. 1, 2, all those things, very easy things. Before you know it, the kids will be playing with it and it will become part of their lives. That does not have any negative implication to the language they speak as their native languages. But to have like a common language that will bring us together. The colonial masters will not want that. Anything that will bring Africans together, they don't want it. If Africa can come together, that will be the end of both America and Europe. Quote me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. You elaborate. That's it true. In fact, the survival of Black race globally is our unity. And our unity has been one of the most failing things forever. We Black people do not understand or even try the fact of unity. We try to, what they call integration, like collaboration. You will hear all those terms and bugging in there. We're gonna do African continental free trade area. We cannot do that. There is no way that the self or the best interests, the self-interest of Tanzania, if it's not considered in African continental free trade area, Tanzania is not gonna be part of that. If there is no paying tax to Tanzanian government, I'm just giving Tanzania, but I know it's all our countries, because our countries are competing between each other towards investors, towards the resources. We now understand that Nigeria is my country, even though I may be from Ghana or I may be from South Africa. We don't understand that. It's not there because we are not united. For that reason, we are competing. Ghana is competing with Egypt. Egypt is competing with Ethiopia. Ethiopia is competing with in all those kind of sorts of things. So we cannot operate. African Continental Free Trade Area is a good idea, but trust me on this. It's not gonna work. One, it does not have a language. You cannot do trade with someone that you cannot communicate with. If I will take you to Mozambique and tell you to sell something or to buy something, you're not gonna do that because there is no way. Who do you gonna talk to? Which language you gonna use? Or if I take you to Angola or Guinea Equatorial or some other places in Africa. So that one, let me leave that alone. Now, another question is asking, Ghana give citizenship to ADOS, descendants of slave trade, descendant of slaves people. So that is Ghana. He give free citizenship to them. Now, this question goes to Ambassador. Since you are in Nigeria now, what is your position? What do you guys think about our people? Do you have anything on table for them?
Oh, yes. You mean in terms of the parallel program like granting of citizenship to diaspora Africans?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, I would like to say that on the question of language, it is desirable. And in fact, Nigeria agrees with it. And there are elements to be done at the local level. But if you agree with me that resources must be allocated to promote whatever language we are advocating, therefore, it first of all had to be admitted at the national level. So it's a combination of both national and at the local level. It is desirable to have one language, but there are problems, and those problems will take time, because if you say of all the problems in Nigeria, a single language for all the country, that would be far-fetched. So if you say we want to have a single language in the whole country before we start addressing those other problems. Now, talking of the granting of citizenship to diasporans in Ghana, we also have diasporan land allocation in Nigeria. We have in Abuja, we have in all these other places. And it's just that the Ghanaian government has a more coordinated approach to inviting diasporans into back to Africa. So there are back to Africa programs also in Nigeria, but maybe they have not been given added impetus like the case of the Ghanaian example. So it is encouraged in Nigeria. In fact, I was in a group of diasporan Africans trying to encourage diasporans to travel. And we did organize some trips from the US to Nigeria. These activities was championed by Dr. Sorry, I forgot his name. I used to call him Presido, but he's the president of Diaspora African. So we have similar programs. We have cultural, touristic programs like they call it Door of No Return, but we call it Door of Return now. You can, if you come to Lagos, we can take you by boat to Badagry and all those places. So there are programs, but they have not been accelerated. They have not been elevated to desirable levels, just because, well, there are other problems that is contesting for attention in Nigeria and by extension in Africa. So, but we still continue to promote these ideas. It is when the idea is agreeable, that is when a policy can emanate, and that is when we can now have implementation. So every stage of this idea, policy, and then implementation has to be given the attention it deserves. But I'm not satisfied that the Nigerian setup is not giving the attention as much as we have in Ghana to this issue of diasporans coming home. But of course, well, we have a diaspora commission in the government of Nigeria, which is organizing all those things. They meet frequently, and they ask diaspora, and they have whole diaspora investment summit where all these other schemes are made known to diasporan Africans, and it's open to all Africans, not only Nigerians in the US.
Thank you so much. I hope those who are interested in to come to Nigeria for settlement, at the end of the day, you go in the air and you will come back down where you came from.
Oh, yes.
It's called the state of origin or something like that. So if you were the water was very, very hot, apparently it's going to come back to the natural, the original nature of the water. So we talked so much about today. We talk about a lot of topics, languages, elections, and democracy, and society, and so on. But I want to ask one question in closing, each one of you. One is, what is waiting for the current president who's coming in Nigeria? What is something that the president would have to face? Otherwise, he may get in very, very bad shape. This question goes to the King Eze. What do you think it should be the major task for the new president who's going to come in office in Nigeria?
The major task the new president is supposed to tackle is to bridge the chasm that divides us as a people. Bring everybody together under one umbrella. Whether you are from the north or from the south, everybody wants to have that sense of belonging. In my book, I made reference to the agitations of the minorities during the colonial era that made the then Queen to designate Sir Henry Welling to go and look into the fears of the minorities in Nigeria. And Sir Henry Wellings in 1954 recommended, among other things, that the minorities have cause to be afraid, and their fear needs to be allayed. There is no other way to allay the fears of the minorities in Nigeria than giving them that sense of belonging. Abolishing, for instance, quota system, state of origin, anything ethnicity, anything religious bias. Let everybody be on the same page. Let people get what they deserve to get as a matter of right. Nobody should be given preference than the other. For instance, you go for an interview, somebody asks you, what's your state of origin? Because you are from state S, he places you high and above the other person who is from state A. That is wrong. It should not be like that. Everybody should be on the same footing. You apply for university, for instance, you will not be asked, what state are you coming from? And whatever state you come from, they will tell you that you are not within the catchment area. That does not help any nation at all. That should be like, that unity. The president must work on unity. If there is unity, if there is peace, then there will be progress, which is the three words that define the entity known as Nigeria: unity, peace, and progress. If we are not united, there's no path forward. If there is no peace, there is no path forward. And the absence of these two cannot guarantee progress. That means you can't move any forward. So the president must bring everybody on board. Get the best brains. Nigeria has everything. Whether at diaspora, whether in Nigeria, gather them together. Whatever you think is dividing Nigeria, bring it on the table. Let's sort it out. Let's move ahead. We have engineers. We have people who are well read. We have people who can move the country, forward so that everybody will be happy. Nobody will complain. Just like here, you ask an American, where are you from? He will tell you, I'm from here. He will not tell you he is from Florida or he's from New York. He will tell you, I'm from here. Where is here? Here is United States of America. And that's it. So I want to see such slogan in Nigeria. When you ask a Nigerian, where are you from? He will tell you, or she will tell you, I'm from here. I am from Nigeria. Whether you're from North, whether you're from South. So that is what I expect the next president of Nigeria to work on. Unity and peace of the country. Let Nigeria be united as one, and we'll forge ahead. And I am pretty sure that the new president will be able to do it. He will be able to do it. He has my support, and I will not leave any stone unturned in making sure that I spread the message, around the nooks and crannies of the country so that our people will embrace it. Now we have the opportunity to move Nigeria forward, and we'll do our best to make sure that we move Nigeria forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Mr. Your Excellency Ambassador, this is the same question. I did not talk about what the previous president did, so I did not have time, but I was going to go over that, but time is gone. What is something that you believe that is waiting for this new president in office?
Well, there is no doubt that, like Diese mentioned, it is the issue of unity. We have just gone through partisan elections. And like I mentioned, even if you add the opposition votes, it's more than the winning vote. So he has to take measures to assuage feelings and to bring a sense of belonging to the country. However, I do not agree with the Eze on certain things. There are some things that were put in place, like the federal character. We can fine-tune this thing. We cannot discard them right now, because if we do so, we will be shooting ourselves in the foot. We fine-tune them. We get all the people who are agitating for one thing or the other to dialogue. All is possible, like former President Fuebwaye used to say, all is possible under an atmosphere of peace. Bring the different groups together to dialogue. We will be deceiving ourselves if we say we are not aware of separatist interest in Nigeria. We will be deceiving ourselves if we say we do not know people are asking for true federalism. Federalism indeed, that is, some people are asking for fiscal federalism so that the different interests can be accommodated and the energy of the people can be aggregated into a productive whole. We must be careful in pursuance of unity, not to discard the schemes that bring us together, all together, because it will be counterproductive. This is my view about it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. So in finishing with our program today, first of all, I appreciate each one of you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, to listen to us, but also to our special guest, Mr. Ambassador, and King Eze from Maryland, US, and Ambassador from Lagos today. I believe it's in Lagos, Abuja. Well, a lot of people don't know about Abuja, by the way. And last time I talked to you, you were in England, so I do appreciate for you to come in. This was almost like emergence. I did not plan to have a program on Nigeria until when I saw that is so necessary. That's why I come to you guys very quickly. And as you can see, even the flyers and all of that was a little confusing. Now, going to Pan-African calendar, you guys, if you don't know, we have Pan-African calendar. In the month of March, we have Adwa celebration, which is in the Pan-African calendar. But we also next week, I believe, we're gonna have the death of President John Joseph Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania. We're going to be celebrating that on March 17th. So I will send you guys our Pan-African calendar and see if there is anything you can add in there. We're trying to remember everything happened to us as Black race in general, not only in Africa, in any other place where there is something happened to Black men that who were fighting for the survival of our race. So that was it for today. And finally, I would like to ask you guys if you can sponsor our channel on anything you can. That would be very, very appreciable. We have a lot of projects we are doing here in Ethiopia. There is public working, we do. There is on our Pan-African calendar, in fact, we do feed people. For instance, when it's time for Kuruma Day, we go on street and then we feed hunger or poor people who don't have food. So to remind them who is in Kwame Nkrumah, or we clean the street, or anything we do just to be sure that we celebrate someone who is in the Pan-African calendar, like Marcos Garvey Day. We do things like activities. So you guys, if you can support our channel or some of those activities. Beside that, you know, we are teaching Kiswahili here in Ethiopia. We were the first one to teach Kiswahili. You know, Kiswahili is a foreigner in Ethiopia more than it is in Nigeria. Trust me on this. So don't you think that just because Ethiopia is on the East Coast, they know much about Kiswahili? Absolutely not. So we're the first one. We are teaching Kiswahili as well. But also on New Africa Network, we are pushing to see if we can push New Africa Network from being a WhatsApp group to actual website. And later on, we want to make this as a TV. So we have very big vision on that. And we are also trying to organize or to register to have a union of all grassroots organizations, especially those organizations talk about unity of Black people globally. So all those things need hand, and there is no one you can ask hand on except the king and the ambassador, because you guys are the biggest people we can ever have. So that being said, I appreciate for you guys for coming to the show. Mr. Eze, starting from you, do you have anything you would like to say that I did not touch, especially about the book?
Yeah, you cover the ground. Like you said, time is not our friend. Yeah, we cannot finish everything today. There is still tomorrow for us to continue. All I'm saying is just extending words of encouragement to you. Keep doing what you're doing. I know that, you know, the road to freedom is never an easy one. So keep doing what you're doing. We'll get there. We'll get there. I give you an instance. Nelson Mandela was in jail for 26 years, and he came out a free man. When he was coming out, he said that all the agonies, all the bitterness, all the acrimonies, he left them behind the prison doors, that he's going out as a free man. Otherwise, if he goes out with those acrimonies or bitterness, that means he will be enslaving himself again for the rest of his life. So we'll keep forging ahead. We'll keep forging ahead until we get there. It can never be easy, but keep doing what you're doing. I understand the you know, that you have. You know, if there's anything, feel free, give me enough time give me information ahead of time. We can always, even if for less, we can reach out for organizations that will support what you're doing. Just send message to my foundation, Victor Bonner Foundation Incorporated. It's incorporated both in US and in Nigeria. So send across to me, and we'll see how we can chip in or bring people together, to organizations together to support. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Your Excellent Ambassador, go ahead. Anything I left behind I did not talk about that you would like to share?
Well, I like to join Eze to commend your efforts. You are doing very difficult things, and like he said, it's not going to be easy. But where there is a will, there will be a way. The programs that you have, let us know in good time. And if you are talking about sponsorship, you need to mention the price of the sponsorship, because so that you will make somebody to be able to evaluate and then attract a sponsorship of different organizations. But I don't have a foundation yet, but I will be able to, I promise I will be able to assist in whatever way I can, if we have adequate information well in advance. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, my friends. I hope I will meet some of you maybe in the future. Again, this was amazing, excellent talk show about Nigeria and Nigerians, but also about, pretty much it's not even Nigeria, Africa. It was about Africa in general. We did not focus much about Nigeria. So may God bless you, may God bless Africa. I'll see you again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
creating two groups, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group, which comprised, I think famously, Kwame Nkrumah was there from Ghana, Gamal Abdel Nasser was there from Egypt, Ahmed Ben Bella was there from Algeria, Modibo Keita was there from Mali. They took the view, unite now. The Monrovia group, comprised of William Tubman at that time. Emperor Haile Selassie was also in the Monrovia group. Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere was in the Monrovia group. They took the view, we want to unite, but gradually. Let it be gradual. So that when Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia convenes a meeting in Addis Ababa on the 23rd through to the 25th day of May 1963. There are two groups already. The Pan-African agenda is already being watered down. There is the Casablanca group and there is the Monrovia group. And the creation of the OAU was a victory for the Monrovia group. And I want you to, there were 32 heads of states and government who met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on the 23rd through to the 25th day of May, the year 1963. And I want you to listen to all of those speeches or the compilation of them. There is a compilation of them that was made in the year 2013 when we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Organization of African Unity. And listen to all the speeches, and I pick out a speech from the leader of Central African Republic, David Dacko. David says, Central African Republic is so small that if we are not a part of an African Union, the French will come again. And they have come again.